Why am I making a video on how to get rich?
Guys, welcome to the second episode of the Millionaire Reality Check. Today we are going to be reacting to a viral video by Abdaal titled How to Get Rich. Abdaal is a well-known finance and productivity YouTuber who has grown from being a doctor to a multi-millionaire in the span of 8 years. He has done so well for himself. Now let's check if the things he talks about in this video can be applied to us 9-to-5ers, or if you live in the African continent, is it something you can adapt to your daily life? Let's find out. Now, because the video I'm going to be reacting to is very long, I'm going to be breaking down the main points. I'll tell you what works, what doesn't, and what's realistic for us. If you're in Africa or working a regular job, this one's for you. So just a recap. In our last video, we talked about Natalie Dawson and the millionaire advice she offered. She offered 10 points in that video, which we reacted to, and we found out that 8 points works easily for us, while 2 points needed adaptation to your own life because not everybody can apply it in their day-to-day life. So you needed to do some work there. But now, before we get into this video, as usual, I have my cup of coffee right here. You know your girl loves her cup of coffee. Now, the first point in Ali Abdaal's video, How to Get Rich, is the fact that he talked about having this unhealthy obsession about getting rich. Now let's play that clip.
This is a video on how to get rich. How do you get rich? By having an unhealthy obsession with getting rich. To the point, often, that it sacrifices other areas of your life. In my case, I'm kind of lucky that my unhealthy obsession with getting rich, the thing that it sacrificed was my medical career. Thankfully, it didn't sacrifice it in the way that the medical career was taken away from me by force by me.
So in that part of the video, he talked about having this unhealthy obsession of getting rich, to the point that he admitted about, getting called out that he was thinking too much about getting rich. Now let's talk about this situation right here, because I kind of agree to the point that you need to have this unhealthy obsession about getting rich, because I myself, I know I definitely had that obsession, but I don't know if it is up to the point of being an unhealthy relationship with getting rich. You will agree with me that if you want to get rich, you need some level of intensity when it comes to it, especially in terms of being focused on what you are trying to achieve. So you can't be casual about you wanting to be a rich person, because it requires some level of obsession of you always thinking about that particular thing, to the extent that now relates to when you are putting part-time effort, you are going to only get part-time results. All that matters is that you're intentional about what you are trying to achieve. You don't necessarily have to be unhealthy about your intentions. So it now happens to be that even when I have a 9-to-5, I'm still building things that I want. I want that life of comfortability. I want not to ever worry about money. I want to get rich. I find that all these small things that I keep doing on the side are all just to achieve that ultimate goal, but while still having a life of balance. Like you see on this channel, I've changed the name of this channel to Money Peace. Aside from the fact that I'm trying to achieve like SEO, YouTube algorithm and all that, it basically reflects my life. I want that money while still having the peace that comes with having a life of comfortability. So that is my honest take about this. I don't necessarily have the most unhealthy relationship with getting rich, but I have an intentional obsession about getting rich. So the bottom line for this is to be dedicated and intentional. Don't destroy your health and relationship because you're trying to get rich. Being that we are in the African continent, we need a sustainable method, towards trying to achieve our goals, so that we don't burn out while still taking care of everybody and taking care of our goals and our realities at the same time. Now, the second point in Ali Abdaal's video is one that I love so much, and is one that can be adapted anywhere, and it is match your actions to your goals. And Ali Abdaal paints a scenario here from an interaction he had, which made it very realistic. So let's just watch that clip.
And I don't know, maybe it is, but again, I don't know anyone who's gotten rich without being unhealthily obsessed with it. This is a video about how to get rich. How do you get rich? By becoming unhealthily obsessed with getting rich. What does it look like to be unhealthily obsessed with getting rich? I was having a conversation with a friend. This is a friend who wants to be rich. She wouldn't say I want to be rich, but what she would say is, I'd love to have a lifestyle business that helps me make at least £10,000 a month, so that I can retire my parents, so that I can work whenever I want, wherever I want, and do work I love with people I love. That basically translates to I want to be rich, right? How many people have the money to be able to retire their parents, have a lifestyle business, work from wherever they want, whenever they want, making at least $10,000 a month in profit? Man, basically she wants to be rich, right? And so we kind of had a bit of a conversation, and I was like, come on man, let's call a spade a spade. Is it fair to say that you want to be rich? She was like, yeah, I want to be rich. I was like, great, Fantastic. You know, we're owning the fact that we want to be rich. She was saying that she's doing all these different things, but feels like she's stuck in one place because she's not actually becoming rich. And she's been watching the content and reading some of the books that I've been recommending and stuff, because, you know, she watches the channel occasionally. But she's still no richer than she was 5 years ago. She is still stuck in her job that she enjoys sometimes and doesn't enjoy sometimes, whatever. Still stuck in a job, not getting rich. And so we're kind of talking about this. You know, she is training for a marathon, and at the same time, she wants to create YouTube videos exploring her artistic side. And at the same time, she wants to document her life on Instagram because it gives her artistic fulfillment to do that. And at the same time, she wants to host events for friends because she's very sociable and enjoys hanging out with friends. And at the same time, you know, she really cares about her family, wants to spend a lot of time hanging out with the family and visiting her parents a lot, and like just has all these different things that she wants to do. And she also has a day job, for the record. So it's like, you know, 40 to 50 hours of a week are taken up by the day job. I asked a simple question. I was like, okay, let's call her Jane. Okay, Jane, how many hours a week would you say you are devoting to the goal of getting rich? And she had never thought about this question before. Like, literally never. It's like for 5 years, she'd had the goal of, 10 years, she'd had the goal of, I want to get rich. Was wondering why she's not there yet, which is why she was talking to me about this, because it was a conversation about how to get rich, basically. And I asked, how many hours a week are you dedicating to the goal? And she was like, oh, damn. I mean, I've got my day job. And I was like, okay, come on, you know, let's be honest. The day job is probably unlikely to get you rich. The way you get rich from a day job is either you work in tech or you work in finance. Those are broadly the two fields where your day job can get you rich. Tech and finance. Is there anything else? Pretty much just tech and finance, right? If you have a really high...
His main point in this part of the video was talking about how you want to achieve something, but you are not putting so much thought, so much time into learning or doing what you need to do for that particular thing. Basically asking the question, how many hours are you putting towards this your goals of being rich? Now, while that question is there, let's talk about what is true about this situation, the reality of the situation, and how it can be applied to us who work 9 to 5 or who are Africans and have, you know, a completely different reality from those in the West. Now, first things first, let's talk about what is true about this situation. Most people dream about, you know, something, they want to get rich, they want to do this, they want to do that, but then take zero action towards that thing. What makes you think that that is going to become a reality? You have the answers to that, right? So you wanting something is not enough unless you are taking concrete steps towards that thing. So you now have to, you know, like constantly track your time, like what are you using your time to do. So recently I found out, you know, like how, you know, iPhone usually just sends you this notification, you spent so hours on average, you know, on your phone last week. And when I saw that, you know, I had spent 7 hours on average daily on my phone last week, I was taken aback. Like, I'm not one that spends that amount of time on my phone. Like, what happened last week that I was having to spend that amount of time on my phone? Okay, let's leave this fact that, you know, I spent that amount of time on the phone. Like, what was I doing on those times that I was on my phone should be the main question, because I might have been researching something, I might have been on TikTok, I might have been on Netflix. You have that answers to that question. So you wanting something means that you don't have to take concrete steps towards it. If you are one that, you know, okay, you are comfortable spending all your time on your phone without actually, you know, spending half of that time looking for solutions to the problem you are trying to solve, that is left for you. Like, that should help you answer where you are in trying to achieve your goals. Now, you don't have to keep asking yourself, are you one that is working 40 hours a week on your day job while you spend 0 hours trying to achieve that thing you feel or you say you want to achieve? For me, my main focus for a very long while has been this my YouTube, to the point that, you know, I'm so obsessed about growing this YouTube because I have always seen it as a business, as a side income, a source of side income. Even though I'm not monetized yet, the amount of effort I'm putting on this page, whenever I become monetized, I know it is, you know, something that is well deserved, because I have done my work, I have done my best in trying to grow the account. It is something I really want, so it now means that I have to put a lot of emphasis, a lot of time in trying to grow the channel. What are you spending your time on? What are you trying to achieve? And how many hours are you spending trying to achieve that thing, or learning what you need to do to help you achieve that thing? Should be the question you have to answer. It is very possible even with a 9 to 5 job, because I am doing it currently, and even though sometimes it might be stressful, but it is something I really want. So it now means that I have to put a lot of energy for what I want to become a reality for me. Now, for Africans or 9 to 5ers like me who are trying to build wealth and trying to do everything we can at the point where we are, You can start by creating like time, like 5 to 10 hours in a week, aside from your normal 40 hours where you're working. Say early in the morning, you take 1 hour to work on that thing you are trying to achieve. That is enough time for you to get started. During the day, when you have break, you can decide to add another 30 minutes to that your goal. That is enough. In the evening, you can decide to take 2 hours. You don't need to take this throughout the day. You can, decide, okay, maybe on Mondays I'll take 1 hour before work starts. Maybe Tuesday I'm taking 30 minutes out of my break time to work on this. Just do whatever is realistic for your own situation. All that matters is that you are working towards that your goal. Now, moving on to the third point, Ali Abdaal says you have to consume the right content if you are trying to achieve a goal. It's not just about scrolling on your phone all the time. Like, what are you watching? He made an example by even opening his FYP. You could see that everything on that FYP was mostly things that were aligned to his goal of being rich. Let's watch that clip from this.
What else does an unhealthy obsession look like? So we talked about kind of the hours per week that you're spending trying to get rich. What else does an unhealthy obsession look like? I want to tell you a little story. Take a snapshot of my life right now in 2025. I'm currently 30 years old, 30, and I want to compare it with a snapshot of my life, let's say 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago. It would have been 2020. That was when I was in the peak of my getting rich phase. 2020 was the year where I went from earning 100,000 a year on my YouTube business to like 1.2 million a year for my YouTube business, for the record. So 2020 was a massive year of growth. I want to talk about the idea of mental bandwidth and content diet. So back in 2020, there were two types of content that I was consuming. Number one was fantasy fiction audiobooks on my drive to and from work some of the time, and while I was at the gym some of the time. That was maybe 10% of my content consumption. The other 90% of my content consumption was about getting rich. It wasn't explicitly about getting rich. Back in 2020, there wasn't that much content about it, but it was about business. It was about how to grow a YouTube channel. I was listening to literally all of the podcasts about how to grow a YouTube channel. I was listening to all of them.
Now, this part of the video is basically talking about what you feed your mind really matters. Because the content you consume, it shapes your mindset. At the end of the day, all I'm trying to say here is that balance is key. All that matters is that you have a time where you consume this content so that it will shape your mindset. A good time that I can suggest, which has really helped me, is when you are driving to work. Plug those motivational talks into your ears. It will help to rewire your brain. Like, you don't have anything interesting to do during that time anyways. Why don't you just spend it consuming content that is going to be shaping your life? And thanks to Ali Abdaal, I've read a lot of books. So I found this website called oceanpdf.com where I download these books, highlight it, and then read it while I'm going to work. Luckily, I have a car which I drive to work, so I just plug it and it is reading out itself to me. And I try to have this balance between reading finance books and also reading fictional novels, anything that is still fun, just not only money content. But this is a good time where you can be reading books that are going to be shaping your mindset. When you are coming back, you can then be reading novels. I find that it has helped me a lot. You can watch on it where you are reading like 70% money content, motivational content, 30% entertainment content to shape your mindset to what is attainable. At the end of the day, the bottom line here is to audit the content you are consuming. Now let's move to the next point. The fourth point Ali Abdaal talked about in this video, fact of having to sacrifice relationships. And he talked about this with the people he interviewed, most rich people that he has in his friend cycle now, where many of them had to sacrifice a lot of family time. Some of them even almost got divorced because they were spending so much time trying to achieve their goals.
Pretty much everyone I've spoken to who has been in that position has been unhealthily obsessed with the goal of getting rich, or building a business, or whatever the vehicle towards getting rich they are. Unhealthily obsessed with that goal to the point that it has created imbalance in their life because they've been single-mindedly pursuing that goal.
You see, this particular point is one that is very controversial, especially when it comes to like the African context of things. One thing they admitted to doing was almost losing their relationship from trying to build wealth. So they neglected a whole lot in their family, in the relationship with their children and all that, to the point that one person got a divorce because he was so focused on trying to achieve a goal. But luckily, he was able to get back the relationship on track because he had to reduce the level of unhealthiness that came with him trying to achieve whatever it is he was trying to achieve. But being an African where we put a lot of emphasis on family, community, I don't really know how easy this is, because when you are trying to achieve so much, you might need that level of disconnect from people. But then what happens after you get that thing you're trying to achieve, and then you've pushed everybody away from yourself? So you now achieve that thing, you're now eating it alone, no happiness, nothing. This is why I say this is very controversial, because you need to have a balance. You can't allow one side to suffer because you're trying to achieve something else. Okay, let me take myself for example now. For me, I live in Lagos. My family lives in Delta State. So you now find that there's already that disconnect right there, right? But then I now have to be very intentional. Even when I'm trying to achieve so many things, I like my space. Being an ambivert, most times I like to be on myself, by myself I mean. But then I now have to be very intentional about talking to my family, putting effort into knowing what they are doing. Like sometimes I'll just call, when everybody's around, they will now be talking through the phone, so it now make me feel like I'm there. So even when there's already that huge distance between us, having to be intentional about you keeping your family in the loop of what is happening with you, what is happening with them, you knowing about it, now helps you to have this balance that whatever it is you're working towards is not just for the wind. There are people that are going to be receiving it. Now also have that feeling of having multiple family members that are supporting you. It just makes the journey worthwhile. But if you are one and this situation that Ali Abdaal talks about is one that is very prominent or can happen easily in the West, where there's this individualistic kind of life, but then in Africa where we tend to depend a lot on our families, whether emotionally, financially, or otherwise, you find that you can't really separate your family from whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So you now have to just keep finding this balance between achieving this thing while still keeping your family in your life and just having this healthy relationship going. So it is one that you really need to adapt to your situation. If you're in the West, it can be easy for you to say, okay, everybody should mind their business, because you find that in the West you can say you're cutting off your family and then being on your own. But then that doesn't really happen in Africa, because we value community, we value family a lot over here. So whatever you are trying to achieve, your family must be carried along. I know this might be, like some people might say, okay, no, they can cut off their family. For me, it is not something that is very attainable, because I love my family being in my life. Even when I'm an introvert sometimes, I just love that, peace of knowing that I have people that, are supporting this thing I'm trying to work towards, and people that are even giving me ideas when I'm feeling stuck. Like my sister is my biggest cheerleader. So just imagine that I'm trying to achieve this. I now put this blockade between me and her because I'm trying to focus so much. I am not going to be happy doing whatever it is I'm trying to do. So in this case, I completely disagree with sacrificing your entire family because you're trying to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Now let's move on to the fifth point, where he talked about focus on your main quests. Like, instead of focusing on so many things at the same time, can you just choose one particular thing you're trying to achieve and achieve it first before moving on to the next one? This point hits very hard for me, because being that social media is in it now, remote work, so many people are trying to achieve so many things. There's so many social media platforms out there now. You now find that many people are trying to grow on all the social media platforms at the same time. I found out that I was just burning myself out. I was trying to grow on TikTok, trying to grow on Instagram, trying to grow my YouTube. I found out that I was just wasting my time. At the end of the day, I just looked at it. TikTok, I was able to grow very easily to 15K while still just casually talking about what I'm interested in, without having to put so much emphasis on aesthetics or so many, putting so many things in check. YouTube, I'm still growing, while there are still some structural issues here and there on YouTube. Like, it is a platform where I love that I can just talk, I can build a community. I love what I'm doing over here. So I decided to focus only on YouTube and TikTok. So whatever it is you are trying to build, you can't be trying to build a business, trying to build this, trying to build so many things at the same time. You're only going to get yourself burnt out, or you might not even achieve anything. So at one point or the other, focus on one particular one, grow it first before moving on to the next one. Especially if you're one that already has a 9-to-5 in this mix as well, it might be very hard trying to juggle so many things at the same time. But being that your 9-to-5 is one point that you can't completely shake, because you still need that steady income for you to maybe push to these things you're trying to achieve. You can focus on that, your 9-to-5, while building a side income. It's just a matter of focusing on one particular side income at a time, then before branching out into other things. I can take myself for example now. Like, I've been talking about owning a business. I've been talking about being that girl who wants to be a CEO, but I just sometimes find that I'm not taking it too seriously right now because I'm still trying to build this particular side also of growing my social media accounts, and I have had the most peace of mind because I'm not rushing into that business. Because if I were to be doing this, doing that, you find that you're not focusing on one particular one. So even though you might be putting small efforts into that business, don't make it your main focus, because you're going to end up not achieving that thing you're trying to achieve. Focus on one particular one, achieve it first, or at least grow it to some extent before moving on to the next one. So the practical steps to achieve this is write down everything you want to do. Pick one that you have the highest interest in and you know that you can achieve it very well. Go all in for 90 days minimum, and then do what you need to do for that particular thing you are trying to achieve. Don't look at other things. If after 90 days you see any bit of traction, you know that you're supposed to be focusing on that one, then before you move on to another thing. If you are doing so many things at the same time, it is very easy for you to derail and you might not achieve anything at the end of it. Now, these are the 5 points Ali Abdaal made in that video where he talked about how to get rich, and so many of them I could relate with. So many of them can be applied, while some of them needs adjustment based on where you are watching this video from. Now, there you have it. These are the 5 points Ali Abdaal made in the video how to get rich. I have shared with you what I think about this, what can be adapted to us 9-to-5ers, people living in Africa, or anybody who is trying to build wealth. This video is a practical example that there are so many things that you can take from it and adapt it to your own life. But now here is the challenge. Let's create a 30 days challenge. Pick one main quest that you're trying to achieve. Like, are you one that is trying to build a social media account? Maybe you're trying to grow your following on TikTok, or you're trying to build a community on YouTube. Dedicate 10 hours per week minimum to this particular goal. Change the content you are consuming. 70% should be about that particular thing you're trying to achieve, while 30% should be entertainment. And finally, you have to track your progress, because if you don't know how far you have come, you are not going to know how far you are going to go. Let me know in the comment section, what is the main quest you are trying to achieve? If it is one that you would love to share with us, I'll be happy to hear from you in the comment section. Are you really willing to dedicate 10 hours per week to this your particular quest? Question for you. Let me know in the comments as well. What's that one thing you change after watching this video? I would love to hear from you too in the comments. Also, comment who you want me to react to their advice next in the comment section, because we are testing all the big finance advice out there to see what really works and what needs to be trashed. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section. I hope you've enjoyed this episode like I did. I'm just a girl trying to build wealth while taking you with me on my journey, while learning and unlearning so many things. So I'll see you guys in my next episode. Like I said, make sure to check out the first episode of this video where we reacted to Natalie Dawson and her millionaire advice for 9-to-5ers. You will find that that video was very insightful. While at it, make sure to click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and you might also want to check out my other videos where I share financial tips that are working, what I've learned so far in my journey to building wealth. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye bye.